That roof flying off?
Holy, we got no roof, man.
That was our hotel room in the Caribbean. The gas station awning crumpled in Mexico. We were there too.
There it goes, there it goes!
And the Bucky sign blowing over in Texas. Same storm, same eye.
We have blue sky and sunshine in the eye of Hurricane Beryl. There it is.
Different countries. We filmed it all because we were there. Brandon and I are the only two people to stand in the eye of the same hurricane in 3 different countries.
I was able to make it over there.
1 year ago, we took a gamble. We flew to an island we'd never heard of to cover a storm that didn't even exist yet.
We've just put ourselves officially directly in the path of Hurricane Beryl.
This is the story of Hurricane Beryl and how we ended up chasing its catastrophic crawl across the Caribbean and into the US.
We're stuck, dude.
Yeah. We didn't plan it. We just kept following the storm until there was no more land left to hit.
The roof ripped off in the front side of the storm.
First, let's get one thing clear. You don't chase hurricanes because it's easy or safe or just for clicks. You chase hurricanes because every storm tells a story, and some stories won't be heard unless you're standing right in the middle.
Catastrophic hurricane.
Worse than Ivan. Carriacou is practically finished.
Carriacou is barely a speck on a map. And on June 28th, Beryl was just a tropical depression, Tropical Depression 2. The forecast, quote, "It will likely become a hurricane, somewhere between St. Vincent and Grenada." There was no urgency, no panic, because what Beryl became isn't supposed to happen. Late June really isn't hurricane season. It's a warm-up, but the Atlantic was boiling. Sea surface temperatures are more like late August than early summer. Add minimal wind shear, a tight core, and just enough time. And what should have been a weak wave turned into a record-breaking monster.
Wow.
By July 1st, Beryl became the earliest Category 5 hurricane ever recorded in the Atlantic. We got the last flight into Carriacou, landed June 30th, hours before landfall.
Kind of makes me sad to see a plane fly away because we know what's coming.
On Carriacou, there wasn't fear, just casual concern. A shrug. We'll be fine.
Again, this is one of the main business strips here in town in Hillsborough. And I only see one business that has plywood up. And that's it. Were you planning on evacuating or staying home?
I think I'm gonna stay home for a while.
And honestly, why would they? This far south in the Caribbean is considered safe. So safe that yacht insurance companies consider Grenada outside of the hurricane box. So there are fewer restrictions and you aren't required to move your boat during the season. The last real hit was Hurricane Ivan in 2004. And even then, Carriacou missed the worst of it.
I've never experienced a storm. Yeah, the last storm I was in Trinidad, and that was Hurricane Ivan.
To say people are ready, it's hard to say that because most people have never even been through a hurricane here. If they have, it was back in 2004 with Emily and Ivan. And even those hurricanes, as devastating as they weren't as strong as what Beryl is.
There's nothing more unsettling than the calm before the storm.
Well, from what I was told, it will be very dangerous and I may lose my house.
Unsettling, but not like the sound of your roof being peeled away. Before lunch, lives changed forever. Beryl hit Carriacou like it had a grudge. Roofs torn like paper, winds screaming through the streets like jet engines. Brandon and I had to take shelter in a closet until the eye, mercifully, opened up for us.
Moving to our other room. This is where we should have been. You really really can't go too far right now. You can see the backside of this eye wall on the east side of the island.
We stepped out into a war zone, but people thought it was over. They didn't realize there was another eye wall still to come.
We got half the storm to go.
Oh, we have half a storm? Yeah, that guy got half. Her roof went off, came off too, my daughter.
Yeah.
So
The back eye wall of a hurricane doesn't creep in, it erupts. 1 second, you're in dead silence. The next, it's war in reverse. Winds screaming from the opposite direction, flinging debris like shrapnel. If the front side didn't destroy it, the back side finishes the job. Beryl was small but violent. She didn't linger. By early afternoon, she was gone, and what she left behind was silence, rubble, and shock.
How did your house go, Damien? You and your dad's and everything.
Well, my dad's house is totally flattened. It's totally flattened. My roof is gone. Everything is gone.
You hadn't been through a hurricane, if I remember correctly, right? Like nothing like this?
No. I've never experienced an hurricane. Hurricane Ivan, I was in Trinidad at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So walking around, seeing this destruction, it's got to just be shocking, not only from your house, but
Very shocking. It's like, you know, everything is rumble. Everything is gone.
That night, the only reason the world knew what happened on Carriacou was because of us. Our cameras and one fragile Starlink connection became the island's lifeline. No one had power, no signal. They only had one way to send anything out. It's this Starlink Mini.
Damage is, I'm not going to say 100%, but it's near 100%.
By 10 p.m., the Prime Minister of Grenada was on the phone with us, not because we're just journalists, but because there was no one else to call.
But before we go any further, I want to talk about preparation. Preparation for not just the storm, but for what comes after when there is no power. It's something I've learned the hard way here in Florida, and that's why I'm really excited to share the sponsor of this video. This is the Jackery Solar Generator. It's the Jackery Explorer 2000 V2. I just got it in the mail just in time for this hurricane season. Let's unbox it and I'll show you what it can do. I love that it's not too heavy.
If you've ever lost power after a hurricane like I have, you already know why something like this really matters. This Jackery Explorer 2000 V2 is a backup power station with over 2,000 watt hours of capacity and 2,200 watts of output.
I'm not really a technical person, but it was not difficult at all to connect and put up all 6 of these 85-watt solar panels together.
And with the solar panels, you can recharge it right from the sun. No gas, no noise, just quiet, reliable power when you need it most. This solar generator is small, but it's mighty. For instance, it can run a full-size fridge for up to a day. Perfect for a random power outage, like one we had here a few weeks ago. There was no power for about 8 hours. We were worried about our perishable items inside. This, no problem. But for a more extended outage, like in a hurricane, one that you can plan for, I suggest a mini fridge. It just extends how long you can run it using this solar generator. Or important devices like portable fans and cell phones that you can also charge using the USB-A or USB-C ports. This solar generator can also afford you some little luxuries like a cup of coffee or even a hot meal when you can use the microwave or the air fryer. And right now, Jackery's doing early Prime Day deals up to 65% off. That's hundreds of dollars in savings. And honestly, there's no better time. Hurricane season's just starting to gear up. And once the grid goes down, it's too late to wish you had backup power. I'm going to have a link in my description with a code you can get for an extra discount. All for the Jackery Prime Day deals.
How you feeling?
Exhausted.
The next morning, we moved from town to town, bringing Starlink with us. Doctors, nurses, government workers, survivors. One by one, they borrowed the signal to send their first message to loved ones since landfall.
Everywhere you look, people are using the Starlink that we brought to make their first phone calls and texts to family members and friends that they've been able to make since before Hurricane Beryl absolutely decimated Carriacou.
My first phone call was to my sister in the States. She's like my rock.
For a few hours, we weren't just documenting, we were delivering a connection.
Makes you feel good. People can make first contact.
Yeah, it's been so many emotional here. I mean,
By sunset, we'd run out of data. And then the Starlink Mini hit us with a curveball. Brand new tech, a glitch no one saw coming. You couldn't buy more data unless you were already connected to Wi-Fi or cellular. And on Carriacou, neither of those existed. We were offline, cut off, just like the island had been 24 hours earlier. We couldn't send another frame, but it didn't matter. By then, the signal had already broken through. We had helped hundreds get their first messages out, calls to mothers, daughters, and fathers, cousins, and friends. Charities were mobilizing. Aid was coming. More Starlinks, more solar generators, hope in bits and bytes.
You have everything gone.
Grateful for what we were able to do, the Prime Minister gave us a ride back to the main island of Grenada.
follow you on TikTok, so
hey man, appreciate it.
Yeah, we've been watching you guys on YouTube.
Oh, you have? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for keeping us advised, please.
It wasn't until then, back on solid ground, back online, that we finally saw what Beryl had become. The earliest Category 5 hurricane in Atlantic history, now barreling towards the Yucatán Peninsula. Jamaica had dodged it by inches. Mexico wouldn't. If we moved fast, we could be there for landfall number 2. A second landfall, a second strike zone. The storm was not finished, and neither were we.
It's hard to believe we're in New York City. Just arrived at JFK. And one of the people I did an interview with today says, oh, I live in New York. And I said, oh, ironically, we're coming to New York. He's like, oh, I live 10 minutes from JFK. So he's gonna come pick us up, take us to our hotel. Talk about hospitality.
New York is home to the largest Grenadian community outside of the island itself. For many here, our footage was the first real word from home. This wasn't just a ride. It felt like he was trying to reconnect with Carriacou through us.
So I was happy to see that you guys was there and doing this. I was like, and the whole country was proud of what you guys do. You know what I mean? Telling the story behind the scenes, awesome.
Remember when I said it's not about the thrill or clicks? This right here is why we do it. Because somewhere the only way a story reaches the people who need to hear it is by standing in the middle of the storm and sending it back.
I said yesterday, anywhere you look, in any direction, it's not going to be the same.
It is due to hit Cancun, that area, in the next 24 hours or just after 24 hours. So today's flight, we should be able to get you there just in time to experience that.
At this moment, I'm reminding myself why we do this as the wheels touch down in Mexico. The adrenaline's faded. Anxiety, not.
First steps in Mexico, my ears are killing me. I'm battling a cold and my immune system's shot.
Am I really about to face this storm again? Less than 5 days after barely surviving it in Carriacou? But Beryl wasn't done, not even close. By the time we landed, it had already made history and now was locked on to the Yucatán Peninsula. It wobbled in strength, briefly dipping into a Category 2, then regaining power over dangerously warm waters. Mexican officials issued widespread warnings. Evacuations were ordered across Tulum, Playa del Carmen, Cancun, and beyond. But after what we'd witnessed in Carriacou, the calm in Mexico from tourists felt wrong.
All of the condos have shutters, cinder blocks, and rebar. So it has withstand, they know. And the people, they don't panic when it comes to a storm. They do what they have to do. They want to be with their families, but they don't panic, and that's good.
Storms like Beryl don't sneak up. They rattle their tail like a warning. Ignore it and you're gambling with your life. But this time, Mexico got lucky. It ripped through with violent winds, sheets of rain, power went out, roofs peeling away, trees folding, but it wasn't catastrophic.
A much different eye from Hurricane Beryl here in Mexico, thankfully.
Can you see it on my face? That's relief. I didn't want to face Beryl again, but we couldn't stop now. Because Beryl wasn't finished. She crossed the Yucatán quickly, hit open water, and started strengthening again. Next stop, Texas. If we could just get through immigration and catch the next flight.
Nice hat, shirt.
Nothing's ever easy. We flew into Dallas, but ended up in Mississippi. Brandon's chase vehicle was there. It's specially modified for storms.
It stinks so bad. Last time we were in here was Tropical Storm Alberto a couple weeks ago, ironically. Surfside Beach, Texas, Texas Gulf Coast, storm surge flooding, and you can smell it. It's not good.
That meant an 8-hour drive back to the Texas coast, racing against the clock to catch the final hours before another landfall. Beryl was struggling on the final approach to Texas. Wind shear began hacking away, dry air began wrapping in. Beryl's structure never fully recovered after tearing across Mexico. As it neared the Texas coast, Beryl weakened to a Category 1. But that didn't mean it was harmless. Some storms just hit harder than their category suggests.
There it goes, there it goes!
Even though Beryl was a Category 1 at landfall, its intensifying core and the track placed the Houston Metro directly into the eye wall, the storm's most violent side. Peak wind gusts of 97 miles per hour were measured at Bush Intercontinental Airport, smashing the previous record of 82 miles per hour set during Hurricane Ike in 2008. Over a foot of rain fell, causing the problems you'd expect in Houston.
This is a lamp for a walking path along the bayou under several feet of water. The bayou itself leaving its banks, and it's rapidly filling up this intersection. This is Houston Avenue off of I-45 in downtown.
When Beryl hit, 2.7 million homes and businesses went dark, nearly 87% of Houston's power grid. 2 days later, 1.6 million were still without electricity in Houston's sweltering heat. A full week after landfall, 100,000 people still had no power. It would take 11 days to get the last lights back on. Beryl caused 42 Houston area deaths, many of which were blamed on the power outages. We didn't set out to make history, we just set out to tell it.
This gives you an idea of the impact this has had on the island.
From the silence in Carriacou to the tension in Mexico to the chaos in Houston. We followed Beryl not because we had to, but because some stories can't be told from a distance. And when the winds die down, when the headlines move on, the stories of the people left behind still matter. We chased one storm through 3 nations, and what we brought back wasn't just footage. It was proof that when the impossible becomes inevitable, someone has to be there to document it.
All right, this is not ideal.
Not for the thrill of survival, but so survival stories can be told.
You want that one?
Yes.